Wednesday, May 10th. We are doing this a day later than normal. I'm not in my usual place. I'm traveling right now, so yesterday was not possible to do this, so that's why we're doing it today. But I think shouldn't be much of a difference. Next week we're back to our regular schedule. Topics for the day: we have the Memecoin craze, we have crypto setback, we have the earn service retirement on Cake, and Bittrex, a couple of other topics. So we're just gonna dive through a bit all. With that, Fabio, how are you? How's everything going? Happy Wednesday.
Yeah, happy Wednesday. This time a bit out of the ordinary. A day later. Normally we do this on Tuesday. This week on Wednesday. Lots going on actually in the crypto market, at Cake, in the macro sphere. Not sure. Should we start with the meme coins?
I think it makes a lot of sense. Do you own any? Are you getting rich soon? What's happening?
I actually do own one particular meme coin since a very long time. I'm 17 or 18. I don't actually remember, but I own some Dogecoin. Haven't touched it in a bit. I've seen it run up from like a cent to 71 cent and back down to 10. But for me, this is just I don't know. Having a bit of fun, and I don't know if you're in crypto and you don't own any Doge, it's just not the real crypto feel. But it's not, So I have a little bit of an opinion on this. It's the whole Gen Z and millennials. For them, it is, these meme coins is like going to the casino. You have this thrill, you have this feeling, but the main difference between going to a casino and trading meme coins is you can justify trading meme coins by saying I'm an investor, and you can actually do some research and you can see, which one is going to go next, and it's thrilling, it's exciting. So I understand why people chase these things. And we saw a new hype phase with pizza and with Pepe and with all of these other coins. And, for people that are new in the space, they think maybe this was the first time, but this is like the third big meme coin craze that we're seeing. Like I remember very vividly in 15 or in 16, Doge had like a really big moment where it sponsored a NASCAR. It was the official coin of Reddit, and this was like the first time meme coins got big. And then the second one, we saw a lot of like SHIB and Floki and Baby Doge, and I don't know what. This was in 2021. And now we sort of have the third iteration of that. And, just one thing to consider. A majority of people will definitely lose money in these things because like I saw a few people that actually did some research, and there were teams, you can track this on chain. There were teams, they were pushing out 5 meme coins a day for like 500 days in a row. And I gotta admire the hustle of these people that are, like just hustling and pushing one of these meme coins out every day. And just, if you do some research, if you go, for example, and you look at Pepe or at Pizza Coin or at the ones that kind of made it, go onto CoinMarketCap and open their homepage and just take 3 random coins that you heard about in the last 5 weeks or so. And all of these coins, they have identical homepage. These are the same people that sit behind these things. And there's one additional, like this market became increasingly sophisticated. So, for example, Crypto Banter, brand newer. He has his own organization and he has a few researchers. So what these people actually do is they look at all recently created meme coins. They are tracking their daily active users within the first few days of a meme coin. And if they see a certain pattern, like they're increasing, they're going in and taking allocations in those meme coins. And there are a lot of sophisticated players out there that do exactly the same. And this builds these run-ups. So a meme coin gets adoption or attention, then you have the sophisticated players jumping on them. It gets hyped on social media. Then retail and everybody else that hears about it for the first time, they come in, and people that have been there earlier, such as the team or sophisticated players, they take their profits and in the end, a lot of retail people lose their money. That's just, in my opinion, how these meme coins tend to run. I have to say, Pepe did a really, really great job with leveraging the Pepe meme. I don't know, what's your take on all of these meme coins that are out there at the moment?
No, 100%. I think there's always two things that are needed, especially in the crypto space. You always, it always starts obviously with the need or the demand or the wish to make money, right? I mean, I think a lot of crypto kind of is driven that way, but that is not enough. There also always needs to have some technological kind of improvement. And one thing that's very interesting, especially on the meme coin hype right now, is how this is actually set up from a technical aspect. People always forget this a bit about me. They always I know they always see me as this business person, as the marketing person. I do, however, have a very strong interest in the technical aspects. And I mean, I made a cryptography series on YouTube. I actually understand all this stuff from a technical standpoint relatively well. And so when you look at the current ordinals and especially the BRC20 kind of craze, you see that this entire BRC20 craze is really set up to actually be noticed. And you have to really understand that. I mean, just the naming, right? BRC20 is so clearly an association to ERC20. It has nothing to do with BRC20. That concept doesn't even exist, because on Ethereum, this was simply the 20th kind of proposal for all that. And so on Bitcoin, it simply kind of gets copied over now. Then on top of it, the entire idea behind basically being able to run tokens on Bitcoin has been existing for all the time. And the way BRC20 is actually set up is absolutely ridiculous. It's so inefficient. However, and that's the key thing, it is so easy readable for a human. And that's what a lot of people underestimate. And I think it just shows how powerful this is from a marketing standpoint. So I belong to this group of people who actually thinks that the ordinals, the BRC20 hype is actually going to stay for way longer than most people are assuming. Most people just think, it's going to be now and like give it a week, and then after a week it's going to die out. And I don't think this at all. I mean, do I think that this current form as it is right now is going to last for years? No, I definitely don't think that. It either needs a change to what's actually being used there, because, I mean, let's be honest here, at the moment, this is just pump and dumps. So either this gets changed a bit and there's like new ideas, new approaches to it, or it's just not going to last that long. But I also don't think this is just going to take a couple of days. And I mean, I see a lot of the Bitcoin fans, the hardcore fans on Twitter, always talking about, don't worry, like this is just going to take a few days, and give it a few days and then this is all going to die off. And I really don't believe that. I actually believe this is going to take weeks, and at a minimum, if not even months, because people are going to become more creative, and they're going to just try out new things. So, yeah, that's where I'm kind of standing with all this. Myself, I mean, I try, just for myself, to learn. I actually try to invest in BRC20. I'm not kidding. I think at the moment it is uber complicated. Like it's madness. And I just spoke actually to David, who runs our partnerships. And I mean, he managed to have that. He sent it actually to Gate.io and actually tried to sell it. All this stuff is like so complicated. It's insane, right? So at the moment, the user experience is terrible. It's also interesting. I mean, from our group perspective, we actually invested with our venture fund into a project that like $1 million, who was really focused on a decentralized ordinals platform, a decentralized BRC20 platform, and we're really helping actively from Burst Research with the tech resources, because I believe there's like something there, but I think at the moment the user experience is just terrible. And so yeah, I mean, this is independent of Cake. It's like really something completely separate. But yeah. How do you see this? I mean, I know that you are way more on the Bitcoin hardliner side, where you believe that, again, I don't want to put words into your mouth, but from everything I kind of understand about you, you believe Bitcoin and the Bitcoin network should really be used for money and should be used for financial transactions. So how do you see this? How do you see this also? And I can be a very outspoken critic of that. You know that as well. Like, and we had a lot of conversations sometimes that I shouldn't be so critical of that, which I always appreciate when you give me that feedback. My feedback has always been that like Lightning has issues with that, and at the moment you really see this a bit where I think with these high on-chain fees, Lightning should actually work really well, but then the entire Lightning network doesn't really work because you cannot get into Lightning and you cannot get out. So how do you see this? Do you see this as an issue? Michael Saylor, I think there was this interview on Valuetainment, I think, where he now even came out and said, like, I don't know, maybe this was a bit taken out of context or something, where he goes into, hey, this could be interesting. Obviously, miners are loving it. We're seeing the first blocks where the fee part is higher than the subsidy part. So how do you see this? And what do you see there?
Yeah. So I have a bit of a nuanced take on that. Definitely the Bitcoin hardliners, and as you know, the general population on crypto Twitter would call them Bitcoin maxis, which I think is not really fair. But I'm calling them the hardliners, and they don't like ordinals at all because they think it's a distraction, and Bitcoin's purpose is, to dissolve the boundaries between state and money, to be this protocol that is just meant to be money, and you're not supposed to have any fun with it, besides, trolling people on Twitter. Bitcoin is just for money. So I can understand where they're coming from. My position is a bit more nuanced because, as you said, so we had the first block where the value of all transactions in there was bigger than the block reward, the miner subsidy. And this is huge because a lot of people said, oh, this is not feasible for the future, and the security budget is going to be compromised, and the miner subsidy is not going to be enough to pay for Bitcoin security. So at one point, the haters or the critics there, they have to be silenced right now because it's definitely possible. If blocks are full, miners will make enough money. But it's also funny because a lot of people switched from, oh, it's not feasible anymore, to, oh, the transactions are too expensive. So here also, a lot of hardcore Bitcoiners, they like to say everything is good for Bitcoin. And I tend to align with that statement because what's happening right now is Bitcoin didn't have the necessity to scale. In 2017, we really, like end of 2017 with the last Craze, this was the last time that the mempool got extensive, like full. You couldn't get a transaction through. It was $50 to get your transactions into the mempool. And we kind of see that again. But in the time in between 2017 and now, there were only like very short and very brief periods of time where the Bitcoin network was congested. And as it is with humans or with institutions or with anybody, is necessity matters. If you have the necessity that, oh my God, now fees are expensive, then things will happen. And we saw that with Binance. So Binance actually did a complete stop on deposits and withdrawals because it was too expensive. And a few hours later, CZ came out and they said, "Oh, we're gonna onboard the Lightning." And look, you talked about Lightning a lot of times. Lightning is not didn't came very far in the 3 years. It has consistent growth, but it's nowhere in when you compare scales to other protocols, and it needs to have a lot more adoption. But how do we get there? Exactly with the necessity that we feel right now. If not enough exchanges make the choice to adopt Lightning right now, we're probably going to see less and less congestion in the future. There's an interesting thing going on right now as well. For everybody that's been around in 2016 and 17, we had what in the Bitcoin community what's called the block size war. There's a fantastic book written on this. It's called The Block Size War. And there, a decision was made to stick with small blocks instead of making the blocks bigger and bigger. And this debate kind of is reigniting again right now. You see a lot of people from the big block camp and also a lot of newcomers and a lot of new people saying, hey, we need to increase the block size from 1 megabyte to, whatever. So there's definitely this discussion going on. But, to come back to your question, is definitely, in my opinion, these are good developments. We are still early, at least that's what I'd like to think, and a bit of experimenting with all kinds of these things. It's interesting, definitely. And I like that Michael Saylor came out with also a bit of a nuanced take because his opinion matters. A lot of people follow him, and you pointed that out on Twitter earlier today, that a lot of laser eyes will change their opinions, and I'm fully with you there. So it's important to have people like him being open-minded and nuanced when it comes to innovation on Bitcoin.
Yep, interesting. Okay. How do you think this ties in with the current pullback in the market? I mean, I saw this very scary chart that whenever Bitcoin fees kind of went to this, I don't know if you've seen those charts, where the Bitcoin fees spike as they're doing right now, that this actually always kind of signaled a major top in the cycle. So I really hope this time is different. And I mean, it can definitely not be a major top because we're definitely not in a major top. It can be could be in a local kind of top or something. But and then we see this pullback. Suddenly, people are all like, "Oh yeah, like Fabio was right. Like go away in May and stuff." And how do you kind of explain that a bit? How does that tie in? What do you think does that have to do with that? Do you think that people are losing faith in Bitcoin right now because they cannot use it, or it's like $50 transaction fees if they actually want to get into the next block? Or do you think that's just like there's no causation? This is just correlation.
Yeah, the latter. So I don't think there's a direct impact of high fees and price this time. Like in 2017, it was very clear that you could really see on the fees that a lot of new people were joining, and we don't really have that this time. There is some overlap, but most money or most price influx in Bitcoin came out from other coins and from stable coins. It's not new people that are joining in and that the network is too congested to onboard them or something like that. It's purely BRC20, these memes that are going on, the ordinals and so on. But I still believe that go away in May might be a thing, because what happens if crypto or if the general market get boring? So these degenerates, as we like to call them in the crypto space, they always look for the next hype thing, the next adrenaline, and if it doesn't come, they're going to make it themselves. They're going to make it happen. And right now we just see, okay, it's a bit boring. Everything is saturated. So there's really this drive to look for something shiny, new, and pumpy, which currently is meme coins and these things. But I personally, I think there is not a lot of air left there, and now it's more like the depression phase of that hype phase is kind of unwinding. And I still, personally, it's just my personal opinion, I don't really see a bullish summer ahead of us. Like I can completely foresee, also in general markets. I don't know. Maybe we're going to touch on macros as well, or what are your thoughts on the summer or on the next few months?
Now, I mean, for me, let's say, we have seen this decoupling right now, especially from stocks and crypto. We have seen this over the last weeks, and I think it all comes down to me, because, I mean, to me, it comes down to Binance, and I know I've been very vocal about this now for almost 2 months. I just think Binance is the one who has been buying up most of the Bitcoins in the past, actually 4.5 months, even 5 months probably now, and it really depends on them. I don't know how much powder they have left. There's still a lot of BUSD left. I don't know how much of that BUSD belongs to them, and I think that's the major thing. If they keep buying, if they are able to really allocate that, I think that's the crypto markets are going to do well over the next couple of months. And if they stop, if they slow down, then yeah, this is going to be quite bearish. Stock market wise, I would tend to agree with you. I would be very cautious on the stock market over the next couple of months. And it really, I mean, I do see the Fed now pausing rate hikes, and generally this is not the best time to invest. So yeah, I just, people just need to understand that there's still like $6 billion waiting on the sidelines in BUSD, and that it depends who owns this. The other thing is, today there was this digital currency group loan that was supposed to be settled, over 600 million. Obviously, we don't know exactly if it got settled, but based on the blog post and based on the reaction that the digital currency group made, it's very likely that it didn't get settled. And so for that, now it seems like, from what I understand, there's about 30 days until the beginning of June. And then at that point, actual creditors could actually force digital currency group into an involuntary Chapter 11, and I think that's also something to really consider. So I do see a lot of kind of crazy things here a bit. Binance gets investigated for criminal kind of action now by the Department of Justice. Again, there's no allegations yet. This is just like investigation. I mean, investigation is actually nothing, right? I mean, it's just that there's like it just means okay, there's an investigation. And there's rumors that CC is gonna get personally kind of get issued. I mean, these are all things that are not good, but all of that is irrelevant if someone is pumping $6 billion into the market. So um, yeah, I posted this on Twitter so many times, and people are like, "Why did you change your opinion? Like, why are you suddenly bullish?" I'm like, "Well, it's very easy to be bullish if there's $6 billion waiting, and you can just constantly see those $6 billion flowing into the market, and whenever they do, the price goes up. So as long as these billions of dollars keep going in, I'm staying bullish, and I don't know when they stop. I mean, BUSD doesn't have to go to zero for this to stop because I don't know how much of this it belongs to Binance. I'm just super rational about this. And so for me, the facts changed December. I didn't notice it. It took me until about 2.5 months later until I noticed it. And mid-March, I started to notice it. And actually, I noticed it beginning of March. But at that point, I was like, still like, is this just like, what is this? Is this something real? Or is this like some woohoo? And yeah, I think mid-March, mid-March, end of March, I started being very vocal about it. Yeah, that's just me a bit. What about your thoughts? General markets.
Yeah. So I think it's one and done. There is not going to be another rate hike. That's just my personal opinion. The market also tends to favor that there won't be another increase. I haven't checked actually the last 3 days or so, but last week when I checked the last time, it was like a 90% probability that they wouldn't raise again. And so it's going to be really interesting because you have both of these curves. So you need to imagine there is inflation, which is currently in a downtrend. So inflation is like every print is lower and lower, and you have the Fed fund rate, which was in an uptrend. Every tick is higher and higher, and both of them are actually converge, or there is they are running into each other within the next 1 or 2 or 3 months. It depends a little bit on what kind of print we are getting this week. But usually you can say for sure, like a month or 2 or 3 ahead of time, that the actual or the Fed fund rate will be higher than the inflation rate. And this is what the Fed is aiming for. And I think they're going to see exactly what they wanted to see. And so they can take their foot away from the pedal and let the rates do their thing. They practically just say, okay, we're at a terminal rate. We're just going to wait until everything is going to play out. And if this is the case, historically, the market doesn't really take that so well. Like in the super short term, let's say we're going a month into the future, we have the next Fed meeting, and he's going to say, okay, we're pausing right now. The short-term reaction, mostly the market is going to pump slightly because, oh, yes, finally, we are at terminal rate. But what's unfolding over the next 6 months after this moment is usually very bearish. The bigger part of the correction is usually after the Fed turns around. And so the 2 or 3 things that we can look at is, for example, unemployment. But unemployment is a lagging indicator. So usually it's already too late. If you see unemployment pick up, things already kind of started to unbind. And the other thing is, of course, CPI. We want to see lower and lower prints. And then probably the Fed is just going to wait until something bursts open into their faces, like even worse than what we saw in the earlier part of this year. We saw like 4 major banks in the US blowing up already. But until now, not really something huge has happened. The market is holding up quite well. So I guess we need something even bigger for them to reconsider. What I find very interesting is that if you go into the future, I think 18 months, and you're looking at Christmas 2024, and you're looking at what the market is betting on, where the Fed fund rate will be, I think they're pricing it at, or the probability is like 30-something% that it's going to be around 2% in 18 months. So like 30% of the market is actually betting there will be a drastic event within the next 18 months, and the Fed will be forced to lower interest rates very drastically. This would be like historically the measurement to go from 5 to 2. That's a very drastic change. But a lot of market participants are actually betting on such an outcome, and I think it's not far fetched. We clearly have seen some cracks in the glass. Now it's just a question of how long can we go further as we are going right now.
What's your expectation for CPI today? I mean, I think expectation is that inflation is gonna go down even further. Core inflation, I think expectation is like 4.5%, and then inflation for like top line inflation is like what, like 5 point something percent, going down from so that's the April inflation, going down even further from the March. How do you see this? Do you think that's in line? Do you think what do you think we're going to see there, and how do you think the market will react?
I'm not very knowledgeable on this specific issue, but I would say we can expect something similar as we have saw the last 6 months or so, that usually these events are pretty much priced in and aligned with expectations. Maybe it's slightly above or slightly below, but in the realm of expectations and probably pretty much priced in. That would be my best guess, but I haven't looked at any data or anything to make a
I think you're spot on. I mean, from everything, it looks very much like that. What about Bittrex filing for Chapter 11?
Yeah, heavy, because I love the exchange. I've been signed up with them since, I don't know, 5 years or so. I loved the exchange, or I still do, and I'm a bit confused, and maybe you can shed some light on that.
Yeah.
But there is several different entities. It's not Bittrex is Bittrex, but they have like Bittrex US and Bittrex Global and Bittrex Incorporated, and only a subset of them is actually affected by bankruptcy. Only the US.
Yeah. I think. I mean, and when you read the tweet and the email that Bittrex US sent out, what, in my opinion, they were trying to communicate without being allowed to say so. This is basically to shut the door on the SEC lawsuit. So the way, in my opinion, they did this, and again, I have no evidence of that. I don't have inside information on that. I want to be very clear. This is purely an assumption. So from everything we see from, like, which I think is very clear, they have a US entity and they have like the Bittrex Global for everything else. They are very clear that Bittrex Global is not affected by this. It's regulated, I think, in Bermuda and in Liechtenstein. So there's zero evidence to believe that Bittrex Global has any issues. Now, does that mean you can trust Bittrex Global blindly? Probably not. But I don't see any reason on why, like, we shouldn't believe them. Now, I don't leave coins just on an exchange for nothing. But again, I just want to be very clear on this. Bittrex US announced that they are winding down their business and they want all the US customers to withdraw their funds. According to their email, most of the customers did so until the end of April. And then they filed for voluntary Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And in my opinion, the reason they did that was because that, with that looming lawsuit, is probably the only way. I'm not the legal expert, but I think that's pretty much the only easy way how they can just stop operating, right? Because they basically paid out profits, right? So you pay out profits. So they took out the money that the company owns. They leave the customer assets, that because these are separate assets. So you leave those. And now you just say, we're filing for Chapter 11. Any company can do this. And so by filing for Chapter 11, now it's just like, okay, customers, here are your assets. You can still withdraw them. Like, they're still there. But any other claim, you have to go against everything else. And so even if they lose that lawsuit with the SEC, I would assume there's nothing to take from the SEC or to get from the SEC, because there's just a shell left over. So I just think, to me, this is more of probably a legal play than an actual like thing. It's just that instead of winding down orderly, which is super complicated, I would assume, with a looming SEC lawsuit, because you would probably have to, I don't know how much assets you would have to keep, or I don't know, right? You just go and say, sorry, we're bankrupt, Chapter 11, take whatever's left. So I think this is more of I would assume this is more of a smart play than anything else. Now, obviously, there's definitely some reputational damage with that, because I would assume a lot of people will instantly be like, oh my goodness, this exchange is bankrupt. I'm not sure how much can I trust them. And again, this is also difficult to know. Maybe the US can simply then go and say, you know what? Okay, you're playing dirty tricks here. Okay, let's screw you globally. And suddenly they're going to go and track that down, right? So, I mean, these are definitely things that can happen. I doubt that any US customer is going to lose any funds there. I think the one that's losing out here is probably the SEC. So, yeah, sounds to me more like a business move than anything else. Again, a lot of assumptions here. I'm just watching this from the outside with like the understanding of a CEO, but doesn't look like this is going to hurt any customer. Doesn't look like this is going to hurt any creditor other than the SEC. And yeah, probably from all the options they had, it's probably the smartest move. Just to reiterate, according to their statements, Bittrex Global should be unaffected by that, should be operating like normal. I'm just kind of restating what they stated. Please don't take my statements here at face value. And obviously, at no point can I vouch for Bittrex liquidity or solvency. I have no clue, right? I'm happy to do so for Cake, but not for any other exchange because I just don't know. So I'm just purely kind of forwarding that. But from everything I've seen there, I would also not doubt their statement, but that doesn't mean that I would vouch for it. Yeah. Other topics, Fabio, if we have any. Any other topics in the community we need to address? Maybe we address the earn wind down. I think this makes sense. So we actually this happened on Friday already. On Friday, the returns on earn dropped below like 1.5%. I know for the customers, you didn't see this in the app yet because it always takes a historical number, right? So it's an historical average. And so it takes a little bit until this kind of shows up. And this actually caused everything to start losing money. So there was like no way that customers and the company would actually make money, we would actually lose money. And so for us, we over the weekend made the decision to wind down earn on Monday. There was a small part where we had to, from personal funds like company treasury, we covered the volatility protection for a couple of users. This was tiny amounts, like really, this is super, super tiny. It was like less than 0.1% of the total assets. It was like of the total assets of the entire kind of outstanding number. It was a tiny amount. Because most people were really close to the 100 days, and then like there was just a lot of volatility protection left over. So we covered that. We didn't want anyone to lose money on that, and we paid all the interest. So everyone got back what they put in plus the interest. So we still wanted to unwind that or wind that down. I would highly recommend you move over into Yield Vault. The returns there are better. You don't have that volatility. You don't have the impermanent loss risk. The product is super straightforward, and yeah. So, but I don't think there was so much negative pushback on that. I don't know, Fabio. I mean, one thing I do want to mention. So obviously, we did have to wind down this entire liquidity. So you saw this on DeFi chain with the liquidity drop. There were also people on why did we have to unwind that DFI position back into Bitcoin. That's just because that's how that product is designed, right? So you have, for example, the Bitcoin position. If Bitcoin goes up in price versus DFI, that liquidity moves over into DFI. And if you unwind that, you have to move that back. That's just how that product works, right? So this is there's no way around it. Then there were people asking, why did we not cover that with our treasury? Well, it's very simple because our treasury only mainly invests into one asset, and that's Bitcoin. And that's just because we actually don't really invest in crypto. We just hedge with crypto. And to me, Bitcoin is probably the best crypto assets to hedge because you're not really taking much bet. It's really a hedge. And so for us, we are not FTX. We're not trying to pump some coin, or we're not trying to kind of, I don't know, do any trading there. We don't try to trade against customer or for customers. We just execute what the customer does. And if the customer would have done this themselves, this is exactly the same process. So I just want to be very, very clear on this. We don't take any positions. We don't take any bets. We don't do anything of that. For us, we just execute what the customer does. And if we did anything different, actually our entire kind of business model, the entire license of being a custodial wallet provider wouldn't work anymore, because suddenly we would become a fund, and this is none of these things that we are. So just want to be very, very clear on that. I don't know, Fabio, if there's anything that you saw there that you want to add there or anything else.
I think we handled this very well, and this I could also really see that on Telegram within our community, especially within the VIP Telegram group. Usually with these events or when we retire a product, the most important thing is that none of our customers lost anything. Like everybody was made whole, and everything was fully automated. You kind of received your balance on, and it was made available the same day, and now you can reallocate to any product that you might choose. What for me stands out, and this is just my personal opinion, is you can really see how quickly changing and evolving our industry and our sector is. And like if you just go back 8 months or 9 months, when Earn was a pretty new product, yield vault wasn't even possible to do. Like there wasn't even an opportunity in the market, or you couldn't do a product like yield vault. And now the tables have turned. Earn is not really a feasible product, and it was an amazing product 9 months ago. And now you have the opportunity to start other things like yield vault, and now yield vault is probably the place to go and the place to be. And but nobody gives you any guarantees how the markets will look like in a year or in 2 years from now. There might be a completely new product that is even better than yield vault. And we are kind of in the business of identifying these things, making them into an easy to understand and simple product where you just can, by the click of a button, like yield vault is really just, you have some balance in Bitcoin, you go onto the yield vault page and you add it to it. There's 2 clicks of a button. That's it. And you basically can use a very sophisticated product that we take care of in the backend. And like the thing that we really can be proud upon is we had several of these products before. We had lending, we had Lapis, we had Earn, we had a very different and very diverse set of products, and never ever customers lost money with us on these. Like we haven't lost a cent in a hack or in a badly designed product. And if there might be a slight loss, we usually cover that for you. Like Julian just mentioned, we had a small amount of customers with not 100% volatility protection, and then we just take care of that. So yeah, I really like how everything was handled, that there is a replacement in form of yield vault. And I'm also really excited looking down the road, maybe a year from now, we might have an even better or a different product ready for you.
100%. Yeah. I see a question around Ethereum on staking. Team is working on that. To be honest, we haven't put that much focus on it. We will prioritize it a bit more because we just really been having a lot of things that we want to roll out. One thing that also got delayed right now is the entire idea of having different vaults so that your yield on Bitcoin, Ethereum, DeFi, and so on is even higher. So we are 100% working on that, but it's just been different priorities and different things. So I know if you're waiting for the ETH unstaking, you can unstake. At the moment, it still goes via CSE, so there may be a small discount there. Once the on-chain staking is happening, we're going to prioritize that. So thanks so much for that question. I don't know if there's anything else, Fabio, that we have.
Just maybe tomorrow.
You are muted.
Exactly. Oh, sorry. Just one thing. Tomorrow, 3 years ago, exactly 3 years ago, was a Bitcoin halving day 2020. And as some of you might know, that's also DeFi Chain's birthday. So DeFi Chain minted their Genesis block on May 11th, 2020. This is going to be 3 years. And this also means one more year to go until Bitcoin halving, approximately, which is exciting. Just an honorable mention because, it's a very special day tomorrow.
Cool. Yes. Looking forward. Let's see what's going to happen there. Nice. Great. I don't have anything else, Fabio. If nothing else from your side, then let's call this a space. Let's call this a video. Cool. With that, everyone, I hope you got value out of this. If you do, click the subscribe button, click the like button, join us as a customer. If you're not If you haven't done so far, go to cakedefi.com, sign up, put your crypto to work. And yeah, we're still hiring as well. Go to cakedefi.com/jobs. Pretty much all roles, though, at the moment, except for a few exceptions, are in Singapore. So yeah, if you want to move or you live here already, then that's it. Otherwise, thank you so much. All the best. Stay healthy. Stay safe. See you next week. Thank you so much. Yours truly, Julian and Fabio. Bye-bye.